You know when the America's Cup is shaping up to be a good one. One of the biggest clues is one expression that you start to hear again and again, and that is, today could be the day. Well, for the third time in the Louis Vuitton semi-finals, we're saying it once more. Because today could be that day, as this team, American Magic, heads out to try to continue their comeback. The funny thing is how the tables have turned and how today is a story of comeback for both the teams. Because after Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli's dramatic structural failure yesterday, they found themselves mounting a comeback as they race to repair their boat. Even weirder is how, when you look at the three skippers left in the Cup at the moment, they're all experts in comebacks, individually and collectively. Ben Ainslie built a career on Olympic comebacks. Tom Slingsby mounted his in the Games too, when he crashed out of the running in the 2008 Games, only to come back and take gold in 2012. And of course the man most famous for his legendary quote in 2013, Jimmy Spithill, when he and his team defied the odds to win the America's Cup in San Francisco. But here's the thing that's really fascinating. For that historic comeback, there were three key players on board that America's Cup boat back then. Spithill, Slingsby and Ainslie, the true comeback kings. So how confident would you be placing a bet today? Really? Good luck. The start was a copy of the previous two that we've seen from this pair. American Magic took the pin end of the line with Luna Rossa tight to windward and then tacking off onto port. They appeared to be heading towards slightly stronger breeze on the right hand side of the course. But by the first cross it was the Americans that were leading as they tacked in the face of Luna Rossa, who were then forced back out to the right. On the next cross, Luna Rossa had made a little bit of distance, and while the Americans tried to block their path, the Italians put the bow down and smoked through to leeward. Feeling the dirty air from to leeward, American Magic were forced to tack back shortly afterwards. This had been a costly move for the American team. For the Italians, it was the move they needed to take the lead around the top gate for the first time. They were now 20 seconds ahead. At the bottom gate, 21 seconds as each took separate marks. Up the second beat, American Magic hauled back a couple of 100 metres out of the Italians to close the match back and round the gate just 8 seconds behind. But the downwind leg saw Luna Rossa pick the stronger breeze on the left-hand side of the course and stretch out once again. Then a touchdown by American Magic for no apparent reason cost them further seconds and opened up the gap back to 22 seconds for the final upwind leg. But this leg was different as Luna Rossa threaded together the gusts and stretched their lead from 300 to 500 metres. By the time they rounded the top gate for the final time, they were 51 seconds ahead. Luna Rossa then got 700 metres ahead on the final leg, and bearing a disaster looked set to take the win. Seconds later, they did. The Louis Vuitton semi-finals were now over. The Italians had come back from a major breakdown to take their place in the final. Today was the day that the magic didn't happen for the Americans and the rabbit stayed in the hat. But it was also the day that the Italians earned their place in the finals as the Cup prepares to move into the next phase. Today was indeed the day. First of all, how much pressure did you feel this morning when you headed out there?
Yeah, we're under a lot of pressure. I feel like we have been the past few days, but I'd say probably our short team were under the most pressure. I mean, they didn't have that long to fix a major, that's a major structural problem. And so to go through the night, no sleep, have the boat race ready, measured, ready to go was pretty impressive.
Now you got the result you wanted, which is good. Did you get the series you wanted in the long, with the long picture in mind?
100%. I mean, look, we knew going into this it was going to be a fight with American Magic. We saw two very even teams. We've always had a lot of respect for those guys. And, man, it was tough for the athletes and the coaches going through these last few days. But I actually think it's been very, very important. You have to go through that struggle. It's the best way to learn, with some defeats and making mistakes. And I believe because of that, it's going to serve us very well in the final.
What would you say you learned the most out of this particular series?
I think just the composure and the culture in the team. It's all good and well when you're winning races and doing well, but then when you start getting under pressure or you make a mistake on the water or you have something break like it did, the whole team, it's one of those defining moments. You can either kind of split apart under the pressure or come together and solve it, and that's what the team did. So that's a sign of strength, and again, that is something that will really benefit us now and give us that confidence that no matter what comes our way, we can tackle it.
Do you think the defenders are as a group, I mean it's getting smaller, but are they in a much better place now than last time around, and should the defenders be worried?
I think the Challengers are the best they've ever been, in my mind, going into this competition. I think the whole fleet has been a very high level, and we've just seen that in this racing. I think next final will be one hell of a fight. I think whoever comes out of this is going to be the best prepared we've ever seen a Challenger.
You'd be worried if you're a Kiwi?
Well, they're in the final. We've still got to get through the British, but I just think we've got two great teams here, and the thing is, you learn the most when you're pushed and when you race, and there's no question in my mind those guys would be watching from the sideline, just wishing they could be a part of it.
How stressful was that this morning, heading out there?
It was super stressful, I must say, but I think I'm very proud with the whole sailing team and myself included. We kept all our problems, the team problems, behind, and we sailed like never happened yesterday. And I think that was the key of today's win, a psychological reset. And when the entry the time was in for entry, psychological reset. We have to do our own job. We have to do it well, like we always did, and that was very important.
Among the challengers, you are the most experienced team by quite some margin. How much does that play a part in being able to dig deep? Because you've seen highs and lows for years and years.
Yeah, I mean, all the teams have seen very big highs and lows. Let's look at Ineos, for example. They had the same up and downs, and I think it's important that we trust our system. Our team needs to have a full trust on our system, and don't do any revolutions. Keep working heads down like we have always done.
That race, we got an amazing start. We did what we wanted to. We said, hey, let's be tight to leeward and force them out, and then go out and slam them first intersection, exactly the way we had planned. But again, like the other days, it was one of those days where it was so patchy and shifty, and I don't know if the spectators at home can see how much the gains and losses are happening. And yeah, I think it might have been the second or third intersection when we were gonna tack on them. I initially called, okay, good gain to us. We're gonna cross by further here and we'll tack on them. And then all of a sudden I said, oh, maybe it's coming back their way a little bit. We'll still tack on them. And then I said, actually, we're only just crossing. Let's just cross them. And then I said, actually, stand by, board down. They just wrapped up in a big lift and pressure, and we got a big header right at the intersection, and we did a bit of a rush tack there. It was too late to duck, and the shift went their way, and they capitalised, and we made an error. And hats off to Luna Rossa.
Overall, how much do you think that the standard has ramped up in this series alone, just between you two teams?
I think it's been huge for us and Luna Rossa going through a battle like this. Us for the future, and what happens with American Magic will be so much stronger from this battle. And then for Luna Rossa, they've gotten through a real tight battle with a team that was never going to give up, and I think they've got to have learned some lessons there. A couple of those races really could have gone either way. I mean, you think of it, we lost a 2-second race and a 7-second race, so if we were 7 seconds faster than we are today, we win this match 5-2. 7 seconds is not a lot, and so it could have really gone either way. And look, you just got to sit back, lick your wounds, and congratulate Luna Rossa on a hard-fought win, and I wish them all the luck in the future.
And finally, it's no secret that there was plenty of commentary from Ineos's point of view that by picking the lowest ranked team in the group was potentially a risk for them, because you two guys have loads of good racing, and whoever came out on top was going to be really strong. Do you think that's what's happened?
I do think that's what's happened, and in no way is that saying it's a bad move by Ineos to pick a Lingy, but you can never predict what's going to happen. And in the end, Luna Rossa have beaten American Magic in a really hard-fought battle, and Luna Rossa are going to be a lot stronger now than they were going to be. So, look, I'm just a fan now. I'm going to sit on the sidelines and watch with my popcorn, and it's going to be exciting. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
Terry, first of all, commiserations. Obviously not the result you wanted. Is this the hardest day of a Cup campaign?
Absolutely. Without question, it's the hardest day. I mean, this is the sixth one that I've gone through, and in three of them. So in 2000, and in 2007, and in 2021, and now in 2024, we've raced Luna Rossa in some type of elimination. So in 2000 with America 1, we lost in the final race. In 2007 with Team New Zealand, we swept them 5-0, and then in 2021 we lost after our disaster there, and now again. So I think as a challenger, we got to take a good hard look at what Luna Rossa does and figure out how we can match them and get better, while also checking out what the defender does. But it's a horrible day.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's also not the time for sort of big reflections, but I just wonder, given that you have got so much experience in it, and obviously you were there last time, how different overall do you think this Challenger Series is to the last one, in terms of the way that everybody's performed and the standard of performance and the rest of it?
Well, I think the level of racing is really high. We'd love to have more racing. I think ultimately the condensed schedule probably plays a little bit to the defender's hand there. But the standard that is happening on the water right now is really, really high, and it's really cool to see. I mean, I think outside of one race, our delta in races with these guys was, in the 12 or 13 seconds, and so, that's not a lot of distance between the boats. And I think what it demonstrates is how far you can push technology and still race it in the same way that the average sailor can somewhat understand it. Even though they can't even get close to understanding the boat, it's still match racing. So it was that side of it was very exciting.
Is there something that has sort of overall that has surprised you about the team's performance that you really weren't expecting, or particularly proud of, or something that stood out for you?
Our team.
Yeah.
I think what stood out was how well we planned for an accident. I think as a team, we day in and day out, we continually executed on the water. We always built in contingency to have spare helmsman and a spare flight controller and trimmer, and you never anticipate those things, but I was so grateful that we had planned for it, because how awesome was it to watch Lucas step in and basically fill some really big shoes in Paul Goodison. And my heart broke for Goody when that happened, and yet we had to move on. We had to next play and get back into it. And I mean, what a great job that those guys did. So I think how we responded as a team to that adversity, there was no waiver inside of our four walls. We got up every day and we went to work the same way. And then in some ways, the Tom and Lucas's ability to communicate and really be deliberate in how they were speaking to each other. I think we saw the makings of a great team there, and how, and we came up against a team that had been racing together for 6 years. And we certainly didn't go away. And we got to the last day of the competition. And in most instances, in most regattas that you're racing, you don't win it on the first day, but you can certainly lose it there. And we got to the last day, and so that I'm incredibly proud of.